We are Luminous Figure Painters. Welcome. This is the first in the painting tutorial series dedicated to the intelligent and technologically advanced alien race, known as the Tau, painted in a grimdark style. Today, I'll show you how to paint a fire warrior from the Farsight Enclaves, the rogue colony worlds opposed and independent of the fledgling empire. Now, let's light our lamps and grab our brushes. First, we'll prime our model in Vallejo Acrylics Black Primer at 20 psi. Now, allow that for 15 minutes to dry, then base out the model in Vallejo Game Air's Gore Red. As reds are usually quite transparent, this should take 2 thin coats or so. Then we'll spray a coat of Vallejo Model Air Red at a higher angle and on the head, shoulders, hands, and shaft of the rifle. Then, we'll mix that red and Game Air Bone White at about a 1:2 ratio on the zenith of those same points. This is a sort of colored pre-shade that will help with the next step. Next, we'll glaze over that pre-shade with a 50-50 mix of Vallejo Game Ink Red and Blood Red, thinned a touch with air thinner and flow improver. Now you can color the shadows by blowing Vallejo Game Ink Violet and Red at a 2:1 ratio. Angle the top of the model away from you and just catch the lowest points. This step is optional, but I find it gives you better shadows than just black wood. Now we'll paint those pajamas and hooves black with Scale 75's black. Then we'll dry brush them using a mix of black and Vallejo Model Colors Dark Sea Gray. Highlight this again using straight Dark Sea Gray on the highest points. Our next step will be painting the blue-gray skin of the model. Honestly, you should go out and get the Fang from Citadel, but I myself mixed Dark Sea Gray, black, and heavy blue from Vallejo Acrylics. Get the little feeties. After that, you can mix some gray-blue from Vallejo Model Color into the blue-gray base at about a 1:1 ratio and highlight the feet. Then mix a little more gray-blue in and add another highlight. After that, I like to shade from the knees down to the hooves with Gloss Acrylic Black Wash, also known as Nuln Oil Gloss. Inhale slowly. Now exhale. We'll now draw the symbols that usually go on Tau armor. I use Dark Sea Gray for this. Plant your feet flat on the floor, sit up straight, and anchor your model in your hands by setting your elbows on your table and gently resting your painting hand on your holding hand. Using a fine-tipped brush, such as a Winsor & Newton No. 2, carefully paint these symbols after referencing some cover art. It's easier to jump from a light gray to white than it is trying to cover up red in this case. So now you can paint the Tau symbol on the shoulder with Dark Sea Gray, or alternatively, a heavily pigmented acrylic close to white. Then you can go on covering it in white. Work smarter, not harder. There are some implements on the model that look like buttons or switches or power sources as well, so let's paint those with Vallejo Model Color Gold. Now get yourself some foam. Don't care where you get it, that's not my problem, nor is it my business. Tear it up and get some deck tan from Vallejo Model Color onto it. Dab off the excess, then lightly apply to the armor. This will simulate chips. You can also simulate scratches and impact trajectory by swiping this way. Then you can apply some Dark Sea Gray to the chips, which gives them a sense of depth. Now we'll save our progress with Vallejo Mecha Varnish Gloss, thinned with thinner at about a 1:1 ratio, and then blown through the airbrush at 15 psi. Let this dry for 15 minutes and up to 24 hours. After that, let's apply some streaking grime for Panzer Gray from Ammo by MiG through the airbrush until you cover the colors almost completely. I like to set my pressure at about 10 psi for this step, as the paint moves slower and doesn't get chalky. Let that dry, and grab some white spirits, put them in a little salsa cup, dip a cotton swab in, dab off the excess onto an absorbent something or other, and then randomly remove the grime. When your swab gets filled up with the paint, clean it off with more white spirits, then keep on trucking. Try to get that mottled effect by leaving grime on the flat and light surfaces. After that, we can add some streaks with Winter Streaking Grime from Ammo by Mig. Period. Next, we'll do some OSL work, which is actually fairly simple compared to my usual process. Mix 1 part blue to 1 part green fluorescent paint from your choice of paint company, but I use Chroma Air. You can slightly thin this with water or thinner, and then apply it to the white parts that we painted earlier. Alternatively, you can paint the eyes yellow or a sort of orangish yellow by mixing yellow floor from Green Stuff World, as well as some red ink as a base. Continue this process of adding white and glazing over with fluorescent paint until you're satisfied with the glow effect. Now you can base up this little fella however you like, add pigment powders to the bottom of the model to tie it all in. This is a fairly straightforward and simple model as well as scheme, and you should be able to crank out an entire army in no time thanks to that, which I hope you can appreciate. That's all for now. I hope you liked this tutorial and found it educational. Stay tuned for more in the coming weeks. In the meantime, check out my link tree in the video description to follow me on social media accounts. Drop me a like, add a comment, subscribe, and ring the bell to get notifications. Until next time, have a safe journey and make sure to bring a light.